Hey, what's up, YouTube? It's Richie from Boston. It's the 3rd of January. It's 2019, and it's happened again. But let me refresh your memory to those that think everything is just a conspiracy theorist and people don't know what they're talking about, and everything's just fair porn. Does anybody remember this?
You were both in Skull and Bones, the secret society.
It's so secret we can't talk about it.
What does that mean for America? The conspiracy theorists are going to go on.
I'm sure they are. I don't know. I haven't seen the web.
Number 322?
First of all, he's not the nominee. But look, I look forward...
Are you prepared to lose?
No, I'm not going to lose.
You both were members of Skull and Bones, a secret society at Yale. What does that tell us?
Not much, because it's a secret.
Is there a secret handshake? Is there a secret code?
I wish there were something secret I could manifest.
322, a secret number?
There are all kinds of secrets, Tim, but one thing is not a secret. I disagree with this president's direction that he's taking the country. We can do a better job, and I intend to do it.
You guessed it, found dead at 58 of a heart attack. But before poor Tim Russert, one of the last actual journalists ever, his house was shot up. His house was shot up. Someone shot up the house of an NBC journalist. Do you see what I'm saying? He asked the wrong questions. For Americans, for democracy, for the free and the brave, they were the right questions. But for the New World Order, they were the wrong questions. And this is what happened. And it keeps happening. It's amazing how people still don't get it. They still don't get it. This is Business Insider magazine. Tim Russert was actually asking the right questions. Because Skull and Bones is a secret society. Just like ISIS is a secret society. Do you see what I'm saying? It's the same thing. 13 most powerful members of Skull and Bones. Well, this is the guy that was sitting in a school reading an upside-down book about my pet goat when the World Trade Centers got attacked on 9/11 by a guy in dialysis in a cave. You see what I'm saying? And it keeps going back. President Taft, Walter Camp, Lyman Spitzer, NASA, Potter Stewart, McGeorge Bundy, remember him? He's a good dude, McGeorge. George Herbert Walker Bush, the man that couldn't remember where he was the day that Kennedy got killed. Strange, because he was actually standing right there leaning against a building. William F. Buckley Jr., John Kerry, Frederick Smith, and of course, George Bush, Stephen Schwartzman, and Dana Milbank. And it just keeps going and going. These people take over by any means necessary. The Quill and Dagger, Skull and Bones. There's so many secret societies, and all of the people running the world belong to them. Remember when this guy popped up?
Join me at this moment in history and welcome Barack Obama. It was here in Springfield, where North, South, East, and West come together, that I was reminded of the essential decency of the American people.
Remember this? Remember all those videos where people were pointing out Michelle or Michael's penis? Newsweek told us, there it is. It's right there. And other people tried to tell us, but sadly, they all died mysteriously and suddenly. Andrew Breitbart made a huge mistake by telling the world he was going to release information that would show who Obama really was, what he really believed, and what he was really going to do to America. And instead, the 43-year-old man was walking down the street and suddenly died of a heart attack. Well, Richie, you're just speculating. People have heart attacks. That's why it's called a heart attack. And they have a heart attack and then they die and then they're not here anymore because they had a heart attack. Yeah, well, it's always within a day. And we do have an app for that. And it's a really old app. But maybe you didn't know. So let me remind you. Here's an article that it says, yes, there is a CIA heart attack gun. In 1975, a congressional hearing confirmed it. And here's two congressmen examining the heart attack gun, which if memory serves, it shot a dart made of ice. It penetrated the skin, it injected the poison, and then it melted away, leaving no evidence. In 75, Congress investigated the CIA out of concern that former President Nixon may have used the CIA in an abuse of powers. Blah, 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 blah. I'll leave links to this, and here's a former whistleblower that came out. This is a 9-minute video, so I'm not going to play it. But it's strange, because the first two people I've shown you thus far died suddenly after saying something publicly that they didn't want people to hear. Died of a heart attack, suddenly. And then magically, before he died, his house got shot up by unknown assailants. Andrew Breitbart, walking down the street, told people the day before he died, he was going to release information that would show everything about Obama. And let's not forget the guy that came forward and said that he used to smoke crack cocaine and perform fellatio, and Obama would perform fellatio on him after smoking crack cocaine. He also swore an oath before Congress, and he's also no longer with us. But I digress. Let's keep going, because the list is long. Does everybody remember this fellow? This is Freeway Rick Ross, and he's the one credited with flooding California with cocaine, and then more specifically, crack cocaine. Rick Ross built an empire on crack cocaine. The problem is, Rick had a really good hookup. His hookup was the Central Intelligence Agency. Once again, that were selling it under the guise of helping freedom fighters. But we all know that they were selling it under the guise to help destroy the African American community and the American community. And journalist Gary Webb had the goods, and he was about to show people the goods. But it turned out he also ended up dead. They made him look like an absolute fool. They ruined his career, they ruined everything, and then magically he ended up dead. Suicide. You see what I'm saying? You seeing a pattern here? You remember this one? Michael Hastings was about to release a story that would once again show that the Central Intelligence Agency is the enemy of the United States. They're the enemy of everybody. Everything that goes bad, every drug that gets smuggled in, every single government that gets toppled, the CIA is behind it. And Michael Hastings was going to do his due diligence. He was going to do his job as a journalist and show people this. But sadly, he ended up dying. His Mercedes hit this tree and he died. The car sped out of control, hit the tree, and exploded, is what the story says. The problem is the people that saw it saw the car speeding out of control, explode, ejecting the engine about 100 yards away, then hitting the tree. Now, this was a Mercedes. You can't punch the accelerator in a Mercedes and then it suddenly explodes and ejects the engine. And like the bottom of this story says, where is it? Stand by. He wasn't the only investigative journalist to suspiciously die. Other journalists who have drawn the ire of the CIA have ended up dead. Now, why am I bringing this entire story up? Well, it seems like the CIA isn't the only one that does it, because magically, 𝗲 Payton, 26-year-old conservative writer, dies following sudden illness. And the story is she caught the flu and died. See, now this is the two birds, one stone scenario. They can help push the flu shot on people and blame it on how come she died suddenly. 26 years old. She looks like she's in terrible shape. She probably doesn't take care of herself. You know what I mean? She probably smokes cigarettes, stays up all night watching Richie from Boston videos, right? Yeah, I don't think so either. The problem is she wrote an article on Robert Mueller of the FBI, and then magically she ended up dead. Because that's what happens in this country. That's what happens when you don't watch alternative media, what the media, the mainstream calls fake news. These guys have been bought and paid for. I've shown you the story a million times. 6 corporations, and it's probably only 2 or 3 now, own everything you see, hear, and read, period. And anybody that dares step out of the shell and do the right thing, do what a journalist is supposed to do, well, they end up a headline and the topic of one of my videos or other YouTube channel videos. This isn't conspiracy. This is just what happens. This has been going on for time immemorial. This is what happens when secret societies run things from behind the scenes. This is what happens when elites buy the only method that Americans are informed through. It's time for people to wake up, because this just keeps happening over and over and over and over and over and over. And meanwhile, the noose around our necks keeps getting tighter and tighter and tighter. It astounds me people still have the balls to use the word fair porn. I'll tell you what, I bet you if she heard what I had to say before she ended up dead, she wouldn't call it fair porn. But I guess it is what it is, at any rate. Another one bites the dust. Richie from Boston, I'm out.